There we go. Hi, everyone. So I just want to welcome everyone to our new consultant training. We're going to go through some questions, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the key topics. And so what we'll do is I'll start off right off the get-go with any questions that you have right off the start. So, Jen, is there anything?
Sorry, I'm trying to cut down my glare. I don't think so. I think as we get more into it, because as I'm getting cooking classes booked and getting their information, I've had a lot of good questions come from those hostesses. Mm-hmm. So I think it's knowing the next steps without being able to enter the information that you would recommend taking for kind of like hostess training to make sure they're effective cooking classes right from launch. If that makes any sense.
So host coaching, and
that's kind of where I'm at, right?
Yeah. There is a template for that in the units. It's I think unit 5, I'd have to go in and look. But anyways, and then there's a template of what they actually have to provide for a class, a letter that you can modify. So they do have that in there. And we got an update on being able to enter cooking classes in. So they're going to try and make that go live so that you can at least enter them in.
Okay.
And the auto-generated email will be sent. But anyways, they're just kind of working on those things right now. So, there's a cooking class video, because I understand some of you can't see Amelia's video that I've posted in the units. Hi, Jordan. And they're sending us an updated version of a live class she did actually in the US when they were on their pre-tour. So I'll post that up. So yeah, so bit by bit, things are coming in and infilling. I know many of you are working through the units, and just so everyone is aware, all the information and things that I'm referencing, the hard copy of it is in the units in the Facebook group. And I have mine set so the units come up first, but if your discussion comes up first, in the left-hand side, there's a bar, and you just click on units, and then you'll see it come up. You start through unit 1, and then you just work your way through. So if anyone's unfamiliar about how to find those, and then you can work through them in order. And there might be one where you're like, well, I already kind of went over that information. You can just skip to the next, just click done. And anyways, it's meant to keep it all organized, and it flows in the right order of how to do it. So the other thing I want to talk about too is, if you haven't done your getting to know me intro call with me, please get that set up as soon as possible. Within the next week, I'd like to have done the rest of the introduction calls. So, and then I want to talk about just the next step. So of course, most of you have received your kits. How was that when you got your business kits? Exciting?
Like Christmas.
Right? Oh, I know. I saw some of the postings of people were, they did a reveal. So you have an opportunity there too, to, if you haven't already, I know some of you have, where you can do a video, a reveal, or even just a posting. It's a really, really good way to, as a sponsoring seed, or for people hosting classes and things like that. So it's an opportunity to, to do that. I saw one girl, actually, she she's posting, it looks like each day, one more piece of the kit. And then she said it was forcing her to learn about each product, because then she did a posting on it. This is another thing I got in my business kit. So that's kind of an interesting way to do it too. It gives you a flow of postings to pique people's interest, so you get more hostesses. And of course, we have our sponsoring challenge on. And I'm going to post something in there after this call, and share the love. So lots of prizes to be earned, and that's on until next Friday. So use that business kit as a way to posting with that as a way to draw people in. The other thing that you can be doing right off the get-go is you should by now have done your who do you know list. That's kind of your, your 12 social circles. If you've got your kit, you'll have your workbook, the hard copy. If you printed it off initially, you can save that workbook and give it to prospective local consultants. So the next person you get started, where you're face-to-face with them, you can say, well, here's your book, and we can get you started right away. And then when her kit arrives, she'll have one where she can keep that on hand too, and give it to her first sponsor. So, because it's kind of neat to be able to hand someone that hard copy and start making their social circles with them, start going through their who do you know list right off the get-go. And then with the who do you know list, you also want to do a who do they know list. So asking for referrals is a really, really easy way to get your business going. And I had someone share with me a really, really good idea. And because some of us do monetary things, like I've always done a $25 product credit if they refer me someone who hosts a class once it hosts and closes, and $50 if someone gets started in business. But the idea that this other gal sent was one of our dinner kits for a business referral, and one of the what's for dinner packs for a party referral. Because then it's a tangible item too. So I'm thinking I might switch over, because it's something that they can wrap their mind around, where just a $50 amount, they're not tying it to a visual of a product. So when you're talking to these who do you know people, letting everyone know you're in business, you can also be asking for referrals. Say, something like, well, maybe you can help me. Who do you know who's a foodie, or who likes to cook, or who doesn't like to cook? Epicure is really good for those people too. Makes it quick and easy. And you'll be surprised at how many people actually refer someone. But it's also a great way to approach people. Maybe you have someone on your list where you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm kind of scared to talk to her about it, or this or that. Well, you can approach them with referrals and ask for referrals. And then they go like, oh, well, what about me? I might be interested in doing a class, or this sounds like really interesting as a business. And then you just try and not act too surprised that they referred themselves. So that's another way to go about it. So now we've got our Fast Start program. Of course, I'm not going to go through that right now. We don't have, that I can see any Canadian consultants on the call. That's something that I'm choosing to do on the Get to Know You call, the one-on-one call. And of course, you can all read what's in there, because for the US, it doesn't start until we go live. So, but most of you will have had a peek at it and just be excited. You can earn a lot of money in your first 30, 60, 90 days, month 1, month 2, month 3. So Okay, so I just got my guide here. I'm just make sure I'm not forgetting anything. So, of course, some of you have started booking classes. That's great. Booking them, doing practice ones before we go live, or booking actual ones for August, or a combination of both. Jen had a really good idea. She said that people that she's got that are interested in the business, she's going to have them over and do a practice class, and that way they can have a look. Now, I think it was you, Jen, that shared that with me, right?
Sorry, unmuting. Yeah. So what I did was I was getting a ton, and I bet a lot of you guys have had the same thing where people have shown a ton of interest, and then it came down to it and it was like, I would really like to try it first. Let me host a cooking class and see how it's run. So I booked them for the cooking class. Like, I have them on the calendar. But then I threw out there, because really it's about tasting and seeing the product and getting in it, and so I just said, hey, I'm going to hold 2 separate tastings ahead of time, just so I can get my hands dirty, have some fun, we'll have some food, just come over and do a tasting with me. And they're all about it. And then they're, some of them have even posed to me, which in the back of my head I've posed a few times, but it's, now that we have your cooking class on the books, if you like what you see while we're here, you can ask all the questions, take a catalog with you. I'll answer what I can or find out for you, but then your cooking class can be your launch. So that's been a lot of what's been happening, which is very exciting. So,
and that's a perfect way to do it. And you could do these practice classes too, where you could just randomly invite, a group of, say, 8 to 12 ladies, where it's like, you know what, why don't you just come, and I'd love to have you over, just come and check it out. And it's not like a formal launch class. It's like, I'm going to make one of the products and then we'll all taste it. Just casual, just pop on by, and then they may not be committed to doing anything with it. Hello. And then, from there they'll go, oh, this is how a cooking class rolls roughly. Okay, yeah, well, I'd like to book one. Now that I've seen it, I'd like to book one. Or they may say, you know what, I'm thinking this could be a business opportunity for me, me as well. And then, like Jen said, you can go ahead and book them a class if they aren't already booked, and it can be their starter class. So it's a great way to practice, and it's on the guise of, oh, just come on over and I need to practice. Can I practice on you? And of course, people are going to help you. They're not going to go, no, sorry, I can't. You're serving food. Did you say there was food? Might even ply them with a little bit of wine or something too. Say, yeah, come on over. I'm having a girls' night. So you make it sound more casual. So, now, when you're booking, of course, we have the video, and I don't want to redo a lot of information. I've already gotten the units, because I know you guys can read. I know you guys can listen to the videos, but really make sure that before you start approaching people, that you've listened to the how to approach people video in the units, how to invite to your launch class, I think it is. But more or less, it's you are your service, not your product. So what you want to say is something like, oh, I've started this super fun business. They've just launched in from Canada, and I am going to be doing really fun in-house cooking classes. They're complimentary. And I'll be featuring a product called Epicure. So the Epicure is the after bit. And what you're offering is a service. You're offering a free cooking class. Maybe if you were going in, and you could say they can be done online, they can be done live in your home, whatever options you're offering. But be service forward as opposed to product forward. And it's especially good down there, because up here you can say, oh, I'm having an Epicure cooking class, and they know what you're talking about. Down there, you'll get what we used to way back in the beginning, where you show up and everyone's in flip-flops, and you're going, why do they all have flip-flops on? It's the middle of winter. It's because they think Epicure, oh, there's something to do with pedicure. I think they're just going to do something to our nails or something to our feet. So same kind of thing. So lead with your service. So when you're talking to people, I always say, like in that video, I say there's 4 options with Epicure. You want to present all options. In the US, there's, of course, at this time, 3 options with Epicure, because you don't have the formal fundraiser, but you can do informal fundraisers by simply, I do open book classes, and I give them a straight 25%. And then I take the hostess benefits in lieu of the cash I gave them. And they're wildly popular, and you can do them. It doesn't have to be a registered fundraiser. It can be, I've raised money for Dragon Boat clubs. I've raised money for people that have kids in specialty sports. Maybe one girl I can think of, she goes to the Pan Am Games for karate. And her mom does a gigantic Epicure class once a year, and everyone saves up, for what they need and make really large orders. And she earns money for her to go travel to the Pan Am Games, so that you can do it for anything. And I did one once for a lady that got burnt out of her house, and she wouldn't accept. Someone's got some noise in the background. Thank you. She wouldn't accept any handouts. People have pride, things like that. So her friend said, great, well, we're going to do you an Epicure class. It's going to be a fundraiser, and you can take, and she took a combination. So of course she restocked her kitchen with things she needed from Epicure, and then there was still an amount left over. So she took a combination of cash and product. And then I took the rest of the product in lieu of the cash that I gave her. So there is that option as well. And sometimes when someone, there's a certain someone out there that goes, well, I don't want to host a thing where I'm getting free based on what my friends bought. I mean, most people don't have an issue with it. I think it's brilliant. I mean, if Walmart was saying, bring 10 of your friends down and grocery shop and you get, anywhere, 10, 15, 20, 25%, depending on what they buy of what they purchase. I mean, tons of people would do it. They'd be like, oh, well, hello, we all grocery shop. Why not? So it's the same kind of concept. So, you just really, really want to, tote the benefits and the different ways you can do these classes. When I do online classes, I don't do the ones where you post a bunch of stuff for like a week. I don't like to participate in those kind of online classes because I find that the volume of things that get posted in there, I just don't have time for it. How I do my online classes is I do an event up and I go live from my own kitchen into that event. And so it's like, okay, ladies, Sunday night, 9:00, after you get your kids to bed, grab a glass of wine or a cup of tea, and Tara's going to be live in our event from her kitchen. And all I'm doing is preparing my dinner for the next night. But I do it just like they were at a live class. If they can't make it at that time, of course, the Facebook Live saves right into the event. They can go and watch it whenever they feel like. And then I just follow up with the people that are in the event to get their orders, just like it would be a live class, except for I'm not sitting right across from them. Does anyone have any questions about any of that so far? Okay, all right. So the other thing at your class is what we're going to be mindful of, and I know, Jen, you talked about, well, what am I going to tell my hostesses and things? We have a thing in Epicure called 10-to-1. And what you want is, on average, of 10 people at your class. From that, you'll get 2 bookings on average, 1 to 2, and 1 person interested in the business. And it's called the 10-to-1. So when my hostesses say, well, how many people for a class, and I use the right verbiage too. I don't say, oh, well, you need to have, or I'd like you to have. I say, oh, you're allowed to have 10 to 12 of, the people that you choose. So I say, you really want to think about who you really want to having those seats at your class, because then it turns it around. Where it makes them perceive those seats have value, as opposed to them thinking they need to fill those seats. They're like, oh yeah, who do I really want to come? And I tell them I can stretch to 15, but I said any more than 15 and we're going to have to do a different style of class. It's just too big of a group to try and do a effective cooking class, because they're interactive. When you see the cooking class video that's going to come out, the CEO doing the class, you'll see that she has people, you invite people to come up. So I always put my hand up and say, who here is least culinary? And their friends call them out. They're like, oh, that's Susan, pick her. And I pull them up to the front, because what that tells people is that if Susan, who's the least culinary, can come up and she can cook with Epicure, anybody can. So, just, oh, someone's speeding past my house. So always remember, you always want to do the 10-2-1. And then, let me see here. I'm just looking at my list. Okay. Wait, I got to skip ahead here. Okay, so, and then some of you have booked classes with hostesses, and that's great. That's awesome, because, of course, that's what we want to do. However, you also want to have a launch class where there's all those people. So maybe you've done a couple of practice ones. Those are kind of like informal launches. But then you would want to have I'm having like a grand opening, we used to call it. And just like any business, you know, with a storefront like downtown or that kind of thing, they open with a grand opening. And at the grand opening, you know, you invite them to come and just check it out. Come and check it out. There's going to be lots of prizes. There's going to be some taste tests. I'm doing a Mexican cooking class. It's going to be a ton of fun. You know, I'm going to be making, you know, maybe some sort of a tea that you're making at it, like one of the Epicure teas, or, you know, again, whatever you're serving. I usually I'll serve like a small amount of wine or things like that. Like, and I use these little mini glasses. And it's really important to have that launch class, because you'll have people that are like, yeah, I don't know what it is, so I'd just like to come and check it out. You'll also have those ones that, you know, absolutely just go ahead and book their own. But, you know, it is important to have that. And of course, for Canadian consultants, that is something we book within 10 days. For US consultants, you're going to book it after we go live. And, but when you're training new consultants as they come in, we work on it. I always tell them to have their launch within 10 days of getting started. So that's, and then of course, you want to go over the host coaching, because you want to be your best host. So when you read the host coaching, when you're doing your own launch, remember, oh, this applies to me. When it's my launch class, I want to be the best host that I can be. So make sure that you're following, you know, the recommendations in there as well. Sorry, Jen, did you have a question?
I do. I'm like a teacher. So when you are booking, like with your fast stars, even if you are yourself deemed as hostess, that still counts as a qualified cooking class if you have the 4 customers and the 250 QB. Yeah. Okay.
And here's what's even better. So when you host a launch class, and say your launch class ends up being $600. Well, when you're the host, you can place your orders however you want. And it's not doing anything wrong to, you know, say you have 8 customers, to put 4 customers and 250 or more in one class, and then host a second class. If you have an actual host, it would be what we call fudging it. You're not allowed to do that to break the class in half. But when you're the host and you're launching it, you can place your orders however you like. So it can be really helpful. I mean, I've had people come in, and in one launch class, it ended up being over $1,000. They've done their fast start, and then they book, 3 or 4 out of that, and it continues going. So it depends how you want to place it. Some people go, you know what, I'm going to place it as $1,000 order because I want to get the higher percentage. But what I'm saying is, when you're host, you can choose. So that's the beauty of it.
Is there a limit to how many you can host? Meaning, like, let's say once a week, like Tuesday night, that's the cooking class, come on over. We're having, like, whatever it is.
Yeah,
if I'm hosting it and I go live, and that can be a consistent thing.
Yep. I still do to this day one, I call it, customer VIP class. I do it in my own home, and I do them once a month.
Okay.
And
Love it.
Yeah. Especially when we, like for Canadian consultants, we have a new catalog come out. We do what's called like a product launch for our customers. And you do it. And then I would do that in addition to my regular class. And I do a different cooking class every month. So, because generally what happens is I offer 4 cooking classes with each catalog, and it's a 4-month time frame. So that allows me to do a different class in each month. So.
Is it something too, I'm sorry to keep asking. The other thing that I've already had people, which I love this actually, they're asking very good questions, but let's say we're booking, like I have a girl she's already booking for right before Labor Day.
Yeah.
And she's like, it'll be great to have grilling and everything else. But then she said, well, what if I want to do like a separate one for winter stuff, like other chilies and soups? And I said, well, I'm sure we could make that happen, but is there a way to, I'm sure you can, but if you have the same host, can the same host do like back-to-back months if it's in a transition to a new season, or is there a limitation on that piece? Does that make sense?
No, they can host as many classes as they like.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I have groups that do a class every new season and have done for 12 years now. So yeah, I've got 3 or 4 groups that pretty much book into the next season from one, and there's like 3 or 4 ladies in the group that just go, okay, whose turn is it? And they do it. I do fundraisers for those open book ones I talk about, for weight loss clubs and all kinds of different things. We have a place, it's called Comunitas, and it's for kids with autism, and they go and they have like quiet rooms and stuff like that, and they do a fundraiser with me twice a year and have done for 6-7 years. So there's all kinds of organizations you can approach too, and say people pay the regular prices in the catalog, and so it's not like it's you're buying a box of chicken that's at a premium. You know what I mean? Like, and then that's a fundraiser piece. It's like, well, no, the prices are the same. So, but yeah. So you can have lots and lots. My point is, I guess, is you can have lots and lots of repeat. And once I see how easy it is to raise funds.
Yeah, I think that was my question, is I have a couple charities that are close to me that I've already even asked, like, hey, whether this is set up or not, we can still do, like you had mentioned, the 25% thing. And we discussed even doing one a month and just doing a different type of meal, whatever it is, whatever we're going to focus on. And 25% always goes. So I'm just going to put people on cycle. I'm just going to schedule them ahead of time. Like if I get new hostesses, great, here are your spots, but I'm going to keep the same. I love the fundraising aspect. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can, I used to, give a portion, and maybe it's not 25%, because say you're doing your, like I do my monthly customer VIP class, And I'm going to give away a few prizes too. So I use some of the hostess benefits towards those. So maybe usually what I do is for every 3 people there, I draw one $10-ish item. And then, and they get tickets for showing up. They get tickets for bringing a friend. They get more tickets if they book a class. They get an extra ticket for every $25 they order. And then I do those draws before the last person leaves so that they know it's all on the up and up. And then I announce who's won. And like I say, I give away based on one item for 3 people. But then I could at that class, and I have done, like I like the SBCA, where it's like, okay, and also tonight as an added bonus, 15% of your purchase is I'm going to donate to the SBCA. Or you could have it revolving and pick different things each time. You could even make it really fun and say, I'm going to draw a name, and you can tell me where we're going to donate the 15%. That could make it even more fun. So, okay, so that's key, is doing that launch class, even if you have other classes booked. And ideally, it's part of your practice too. So that would be the first thing you would do, is the launch class. So then I want to talk a little bit. So far, I'm just looking how our timing's going. Yet we're good. Oh, Dorothy's messaging me. Your volume's not working. It's just I'll tell you how to fix that, Dorothy, when I talk to you next. Okay, so goals and scheduling. So what I want to talk about there is, and this is a part of one of the units again, so I'm not going to delve into a lot of specifics, but I always say in Epicure, our hours are flexible but not optional, because you can, flex yourself right out of business if your hours become optional. So you want to schedule your time wisely, especially through the summer months, and be consistent with it. So, maybe you're going to be like, well, I'm going to work in the mornings before the kids get up, or I'm going to work late in the evening, or I'm going to, these are my specific hours. Like I work in the summer times, I work Monday to Thursday, and I work my regular hours. I'm about 10 till 5. I'm available to my team 10 till 3. Sometimes I'll switch off, like I'll have an event come on Tuesday, or, one of my friends says, oh, hey, let's go and go shopping or whatever. It's like, great. Well, if I'm not working Tuesday, then I'm working Friday or Saturday. Friday is my flex day. So if I've gotten what I need to done in my week, I get the reward of having Friday free. If not, it's the day where I don't have usually anything booked on that day. I don't book appointments or things like that. And it's a day where I can do catch up. But whatever your schedule is going to be, just make sure that it's consistent. And I know, Jen, you talked about like a power hour, which is Belinda Ellsworth's concept, and it's great. And it's 15-minute segments. So you might work 15 minutes on customer care, 15 minutes on bookings, getting more bookings, 15 minutes on training new consultants, 15 minutes on this, and it's called a power hour. So, and it just keeps you unilaterally focused on one thing, because when we, multitask? And multitasking isn't really a thing, because you truly cannot multitask. But when we do, you get way less done than if you unilaterally focus for, say, that 15 minutes on bookings. Okay, and I'm actually going to call and get on the phone, because sometimes we can feel like we did a lot of work, and I call it busy work. You're busy. But is it an income producing activity? Always ask yourself that. Was it income producing? So things like customer care calls, booking calls, training a new consultant call or an intro call or things like that. Those are all income producing. So, and you can get a lot more done in a lot less time, because if you don't want to feel like you're always working. You don't want to feel like you're, like I said, never working, flex yourself right out of your business. But, when you're working, you want to be working. And when you're not working, you want to be not working. And that doesn't mean you can't do a 15-minute segment because, I need to call that hostess and she doesn't get off work until 5 o'clock. So it doesn't mean you have to, that you can't do segments. Sometimes people can grab 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, 15 minutes here, and that's how it works. And that really works for them. Just, again, make sure when you're working, you're working. When you're not working, you're not working. Because you don't want ever for your family to be saying, like, you're always working. And it's like, well, no, I'm not. So what I mean by that, say a call comes in from a hostess and it's movie night with the family, I wouldn't take it then. I would wait until my next work segment to get back to her. I would say there's no spice emergencies. There's no, reasons that you have to drop what you're doing if it's a non-work related activity to respond to someone. So that's my big tip there is whatever you're doing, kind of try and do it 100%. And then the other thing you want to do with goals and scheduling is make your goals. Think about why you're doing this business. Think about what you want your Epicure business, how you want it to benefit you and your family. And make those goals, break them down. A real easy way is, how much money do you want to make? When I got serious about my business, I was very clear. I needed to make $400 minimum a month to stay home with my little girl. That was what we needed, baseline. Anything above that was bonus, but I knew that translated into 4, we called them parties at the time, but cooking classes now. Roughly, I knew for sure I'd make $400 out of 4 classes. Probably a little bit more, but I knew for sure. So, because on average, you're going to make $100 to $150 in income. So determine how much you want to make. I used to also break it down too, where if there was something extra that I wanted, like, a new chair or a something, I would always be like, oh, how many cooking classes is that? I translated everything into cooking classes. And I know Dorothy, she doesn't got her volume working, but she always has shared her story where she renovated her house with Epicure. So she'd be like, the next goal is, I want new floors, or, I want to redo the kitchen, or I want to do this. So she broke it down into, okay, how many classes is it to do this? And then she would share, even at her cooking classes and whatnot, her story of, how Epicure has pretty much renovated her entire home. So you can choose specific things or a monthly amount or that kind of thing, but then you can break it down into weekly and monthly on how many cooking classes it's going to take to make that happen. And an average time spent on one cooking class is 4 hours. That's including the before, during, and after the cooking class. And average sales at a cooking class are 400 and something, like, I don't know, it's like random, 411 or something like that. But on average, say 400. And so on, 25%, that's that guaranteed, or not guaranteed, but that's that average of 100. So that can be a good numbers to use to figure things out. And you want to focus always in quarters. So the next 3 months, I work on always on quarters. So next 3 months, I'm always planning out the next 3 months. And then let me see. The other thing is, some other tips is, when you are booking these classes, or of course booking your own launch class, you want to go through and highlight your calendar, or if you're using a phone thing, and figure out when you want to work. Because if you choose to work, say, a Saturday and you don't want to work Saturdays, you will work Saturday for a long time. Because if you, Dorothy's laughing because she knows this is true. Because literally, if you, someone said, you know, a host says, I can only do Saturday, and you go, oh, well, I kind of talked about it with my family, and we decided I wouldn't do Saturday nights, but I'll just do this one because the hostess said that's the only night she can do it, and I don't want to lose the class. So you go and do it, and then people are booking. They just saw a class happen on a Saturday night, and it was successful. Oh, Saturday night must be a good night to have a cooking class. I want Saturday night. Oh, I don't work Saturday nights. Well, you're here. Well, it was just a special favor for Susie. Okay, well, I can only do Saturdays too. So the next thing you know, it just perpetuates. So you choose, control your calendar, we call it. You choose when you work, and that's what you offer. When I did my business and I worked full time, they had the choice of Saturday afternoon or Wednesday night. Which works better for you? Okay, here's my next 2 Wednesdays that I've got, or say they chose Saturday afternoon. I'd be like, okay, my next available dates is this. That's all I had. And they went, oh, you can't do a Tuesday? No. And the couple of times I made an exception, yeah, it went on forever. So don't make that mistake. And then you also want to overbook. So if you have a goal and you're wanting to have a minimum of 4 classes, well, you're going to want to book 5. Because part of our business is there is postponement and there is, on occasion, cancellations. I don't even talk to my hostesses when I hostess coach them about cancellations. I just say, you know, if for any reason you need to postpone your party, I require, that's how I say it, I require 10 days notice, because that allows me to book another hostess into that day and she has time to invite to her class. You might even say 10 days to 2 weeks. And it's funny when you ask people for that consideration, they're usually considerate. I rarely, if I can't even remember the last time where I got a phone call 2 hours before the class saying, oh yeah, I meant to call you, I'm not going ahead. Because you've already had that conversation with them. So that's another thing. However, allow for that. I mean, sometimes, yes, you'll do 5 classes instead of 4 where, you know, and then it's an extra bonus. And it's like, well, in that month where I end up with only 3, we're still on average, I've done 4. So, but know going in what you have available for dates. And, oh my goodness, so this is your calendar. Don't flop it open in front of the person booking. I hold it up like this. Or if it's on your phone, you could, I mean, it's easier when it's on your phone because then you can hold it like this. And I say, so I work for cooking classes. I do Monday to Thursday. I don't book Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays, very rarely. And again, if I do, I choose to continue working that night for a long time. So Monday to Thursdays, especially in the summertime, because weekends you're competing with a lot of fun stuff. So, and I'm not saying they don't work on the weekend. I just choose to do Monday to Thursdays, and that's what I do pretty much all year round. And I don't flop my calendar down and go, okay, well, here's all the highlighted dates are the ones I have available, especially if you haven't filled that month up yet. It's like going to the hairdresser and say you need a new hairdresser, and you walk in and the gal booking at the front says, oh, well, Sue can take you. She doesn't have anything booked. She could take you right away. You're going to be like, no, where's the lady that it takes 3 weeks to get into? I want her. So be that hairdresser, be that person. So you hold it up like this, and I say Monday to Thursday, is there any night that doesn't work? Oh, actually, you know what? Wednesdays are probably good. Great. I've got the 25th and the, you know, that would be going into another month, but you know, in the 2nd or whatever. I can't do the math in my head that fast, but which one works better? I always do it either or. So, and then I write them in, and I close my book. So that's really effective. People want to work with busy people who they perceive are booked. And then when I have the conversation with them too, and I say, well, I require 10 days to 2 weeks notice, I say, because you know what, I book full out. My month gets fully booked. And so in order to get you another date as well, I'd require that much notice. And have a cancellation policy. So if that lady calls you with 1 day's notice and says, and you've already hosted culture, you've already gone over, in order to get a date, you require a week to 10 days or 10 days to 2 weeks notice, and she calls you with 2 days notice, then it's up to you whether you choose to allow her to rebook. If you've already talked to her about that, if you haven't, of course, then you haven't gone over that. It's not really fair to say, well, I can't take a rebooking. However, the other thing I might do is I might book her into a week where I've already got, my schedule pretty much full if I allowed her to book. It depends on the reason with me. It depends on the reason she only gave me 2 days notice. It doesn't happen very often because I say, as soon as you ask them for consideration, they give it to you. They will, short of an emergency. And I say that, short of an emergency, I said, I understand, if a kid ends up in the hospital. But that clearly states what kind of things I feel warrant them postponing or changing their class too. So like, oh, I see, like, oh, yeah, that would be serious. Yeah, not just because, oh, it turns out that my program's on that night or something. And then I also say too, and if you find when you're inviting, you've picked a busy night for people, call me right away and we'll get you into a different date. So anyway, so really control your calendar and control your rebooking schedule. I've had people that I will not allow to rebook. And I don't say that to them. I don't say, you're not rebooking because you don't want to burn any bridges. I just say, oh, you know what? That's really too bad. I don't have any dates left available. Maybe we'll look at it for the fall. And they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, call me then. And guess what? I don't call. So, but usually I'll let them rebook one time, unless it's something like totally silly that they didn't give me the consideration. Second time, no, 3 strikes, that's it. Okay, so let me see here. I'm just seeing what I've missed or what I've gone over. Okay, so talking about booking scripts, and so in that new consultant workbook, there is booking scripts there. What I recommend too, though, is practice them. So this is where you can practice on a friend. She comes over for coffee. Do you mind if I practice my booking script on you? The next thing you know, she's booking. So that can work out well. But don't read them, because when you're reading a script, people can tell. So what I actually do when I'm using a script is I just put it in point form, just to remind me what I want to say next, like but one word point form. So I might say, oh, hi, so-and-so, do you have a minute? I wanted to reach out to you or whatever. So then in my notes, I'd have, do you have a minute? I put minute, and that reminds me to ask them if they have a minute right now. And then the next thing I would do is, I wanted to reach out. So I just put reach out, and it just enough to make me flow through my script, but you want it to sound natural. Not like, so Susie, I'm calling you because I just started a new business, and because she can tell. So you want to be authentic and genuine. And let me see, but they are good scripts in that workbook. So definitely use them. And let me see here. And if you're doing a 15-minute power hour and you're supposed to be doing for bookings, looking at the telephone number isn't included in that 15 minutes. That would be a different part of the power hour. So you get everything you need ready. So you've got a list of names and telephone numbers. So you're just like bang, bang, bang for that 15 minutes. Don't go, oh geez, 15 minutes is up and I just got the numbers looked up. Was that income producing? Probably not. So let me see. And then of course, in the units, what you give your hosts, there's the host packages. You would have got some of those in your business kit. And then I usually give them 1 or 2 hard copies of the catalog. I used to give them a lot more. Nowadays, so many people use the online that I don't give them a ton. I usually ask them, you know, is 1 or 2 good? Well, actually, you know what? I have 2 offices that I work at, so give me 1 for each of those and then 1 to keep at home. Great. If someone says to me, oh, can I have I think I'll need probably 8 to 12. I'll say, well, your guests that are coming to the class are going to get a catalog at the class. So I say the catalogs I'm giving you now are just to have on hand if someone pops by or to take to work, just to show people and they can all share it. So usually 1 to 2 of those. And I have, there's the host letter. That letter serves as what you want to go through with her too when you hostess coach her. Hostess coaching is super, super important. 50% of a booking is taking the actual booking. 50% is hostess coaching. And if you ever get too busy to hostess coach, you'll see the results of that. Because I have had that experience where I got when Epicure first started here in Canada, literally there would be weeks where I did 7 and 8 cooking classes and I could have booked more. And that's where I would just say to people, you know what, I am so run off my feet with this. Definitely something you might want to look at if you're looking to make some extra income, great business opportunity. So it was a booking seed, but there was weeks where I did literally 7 or 8 classes, sometimes 2. I talk about not working Saturdays now. I would do 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the evening. And actually, that can be a really good time management too, because you've packed for 1 class, you get in the flow of the moment. So sometimes people like to stack like that, or do, a Sunday afternoon and then Sunday night, that kind of thing. So, and I'd get so busy, I would forget to hostess coach. I wouldn't forget. I would just be like, oh, it's not rocket science. Here's your package. I give them a couple of, just do this, do this, do this. And I wouldn't do my full hostess coaching. And I wouldn't, I usually hostess coach them in the beginning, but then I would forget my follow-up calls. And those are key. And then I started showing up to classes where there was 3 people. And I'd be like, oh, so it's quality over quantity too. So your host is your business partner for the night. You want to make sure she knows what's expected of her so she can do a good job and be the best business partner that she can be. Because you both have a vested interest. She's going to get free product, or if it's a fundraiser, cash for her fundraiser. And you, of course, are getting paid on that. So if you're going out to someone's house, you want to make sure that, that 10-to-1, that they have those 10 people there. And if it's not a good night and she's not going to get 10 out, you want to know about that 10 days to 2 weeks beforehand, that, oh, I started inviting and it turns out that's our pack meeting. Oh, good. Let's change your date. So, okay. So booking scripts, host coaching, we talked about that. I think we're almost done. What time are we at? Oh, I'm good. 5 more minutes. And then of course, sponsoring. The other thing you want to start working on is your I story, or your epic story, we call it. Because when you talk about the options of Epicure and that you can start this as a business, telling them how much the kit is, and that it's a great opportunity, that it's ground floor, those are all facts. Those are things you want to go over once they're interested. What you want to talk about at your class, and you're going to see this in when the cooking class video comes out, is your epic story. So that's what I'm going to finish with here, is what I say, and it's meant to pique people's interest. It's meant to tug at their heartstrings. So what I say, and a good time to do it is when you introduce yourself. So I say, well, everyone, welcome to this Epicure cooking class. We're going to be making, so we're going to be making Mexican fajitas tonight. I'm going to show you how to get a meal ready in under 20 minutes. And they're like, what? And then I say, yeah, my name is Tara Larson. And that's an excellent segue into, I'm introducing myself. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about how much I love Epicure. So I say, my name is Tara Larson. I have been with Epicure now, for 21 years. And you know what? I love what I do. I absolutely, when I started this business, I just started to get lemon dilly. And then I decided I wanted to stay home with my little girl. And of course, like a lot of moms, I decided I was just going to stay home until she went back to school, until she started in kindergarten. But by then I was making a 6-figure income. And I knew as an accountant, that's what what my profession is, no one was going to pay me to work 20 hours a week, was going to pay me that much. So I decided just to continue on until nobody wanted to do an Epicure class. And then I say, and now she's in university and my calendar is still full. And what I love about my job now is helping so many other women to also be able to stay home with their children, or to get out and be more social, and join that, I call it my 100,000K club. Now, if that's not your story right now, but you can borrow that story and say, you know what, I was just on a, training meeting and I heard my leader tell her story, and you can repeat it then verbatim, or if you're new, you can talk about what you think your Epicure business is going to do for you, what you expect that it'll do. This is going to allow me to da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And you want to talk about things like, if it's a room full of moms, talk about, making an executive income and staying as a stay-at-home mom. If it's, ladies that are more in the senior category, say, you're going to talk about having something to do with purpose, getting paid for a hobby, that kind of thing. So it depends on the crowd you're talking to, but you're going to kind of pick 3 things on how it's benefited you. So I also maybe talk about travel, free trips for your family. So that is what we call an epic story. It's meant to attract people to looking at the business, as opposed to just saying, so Epicure has a business opportunity and the kit's $150 and we're new in the US and so you could get started too. You might tack that on to the end of your epic story, like not the how much the kit is. That stuff you go over in the interview, but just that, this is a new opportunity to the US. Or if I'm in Canada, I say, you know what, we've launched into the US. So that's where I ask for referrals. So at the end of mine, I tack on, if you, maybe this is something for you, maybe it's not, there's still opportunities in our area here. However, if you know someone who, and I give them examples, who's a foodie or who likes to cook, even someone who doesn't like to cook and would love to offer people solutions to that, and you refer them to me, and that's where you could offer the free dinner kit if they refer someone that gets started with you in business. Or we all know that person, that likes to host. That could segue into your talk about booking their own cooking class. And say, and if you know anyone that would like to host, I offer these cooking classes, and on average, you're going to get $100 or more in free products and discounts. If you refer me someone, I give you one of these wonderful What's for Dinner packs, and then it segues into talking about the What's for Dinner packs. So that's how I want to end the call. And the call at 7 o'clock Pacific time tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern, is a repeat of this call. So you don't necessarily need to come on both. I mean, there'll be a few little differences, but I'm pretty much going to be covering the same things. And I just want to end with a reminder about conference. If you're thinking about coming to conference, I guess we have over 300 US consultants registered already, which is woo, so exciting. You want to get registered for that. So you know, if you're at all considering it, get on there and register. You just go to epicureconference.com and put your ID in. So anyways, thank you all. And for all of you watching the recording, congratulations on investing in your business and taking the time to come on this call and watch it. And thanks so much, Jen, for coming on. And the other ones are gone, but thanks to those that did as well. So bye.